was what, just a few weeks ago, when her lawyers had asked a judge to let jurors see all these text messages and other evidence they said would show the victim, that show that she was the victim, that Courtney's boyfriend, Christian Obumseli, that he was the one who abused Clenney, according to court documents that were obtained by the New York Post. So why would a defendant who's maintained self-defense for years, who was planning this defense, who was planning all this evidence, agree to a plea deal?
The trial is off, the deal is done. And nobody, not the public, not the press, not even most of the people who have been following this case for 4 years, knows what she actually agreed to. On July 31, 2026, Courtney Clenney's attorneys confirmed what almost no one expected. The OnlyFans model accused of stabbing her boyfriend to death in their Miami luxury apartment, the woman who spent 4 years in jail insisting she acted in self-defense, has accepted a plea agreement. The trial that was supposed to begin in 3 weeks is cancelled. The evidence both sides spent years fighting over will never be presented to a jury, and the terms of that deal will remain locked in a vault until August 10th, when she walks into a Miami courtroom and a judge decides whether to accept it. This is Marin Crime Stories, and this is the plea deal that changes everything. If you're following this case, subscribe now, because on August 10th, the terms drop. And when they do, we will be here, not hours later, not after every other outlet has moved on, with the breakdown the moment it happens. Before we talk about the deal, we need to talk about the person who won't be in that courtroom. The person this case was supposed to be about. The person who never got to tell his story to a jury. Christian Obumseli was 27 years old, born in Dallas, Texas, in 1994. Grew up in a large, supportive family. Friends described him as soft-spoken, kind, a free spirit with a big appetite for life. He was a talented football player who earned a scholarship to Abilene Christian University before transferring to Texas Tech to study engineering. Eventually he relocated to Miami and worked in the cryptocurrency industry. He met Courtney Clenney in November 2020. By January 2022, they were living together in a $10,000 a month luxury condo at One Paraíso in Miami's Edgewater neighborhood, a lifestyle funded entirely by Courtney's influencer income. Christian was not a footnote. He was a son, a brother, a friend, a man who, in a text message sent just weeks before his death, wrote something that now reads like a prophecy. He told Courtney he had been slapped, spat on, and subjected to racial slurs. And he ended the message with a question that should have stopped everything. Is love going to kill me? That was February 2022, 6 weeks before he died. But the woman he sent that text to was not just anyone. She was Courtney Clenney, known online as Courtney Taylor. Born in Texas in 1996, 2 million Instagram followers, a massive OnlyFans presence, brand endorsements, sponsored posts, the glossy exterior of a life that, behind closed doors, was documented as something entirely different. The relationship between Courtney and Christian was notoriously volatile. Neighbors reported explosive shouting matches, breaking glass, objects being thrown. Building management had received so many complaints that they were allegedly preparing to evict the couple. In a February 2022 video recorded during a trip to Aspen, Colorado, Courtney is seen shouting at Christian and repeatedly striking him while someone films. She blames him for her drinking, tells him he's fired, screams at him to leave, accuses him of costing her money and flirting with other women. And then there's the elevator footage, recorded about 6 weeks before Christian's death. Surveillance from their luxury building shows Courtney aggressively attacking him, punching him, shoving him, striking him in the head and face, while Christian tries to block her blows without hitting back. He never raises a hand to her, he just takes it, and the camera keeps recording. But here's what makes this case harder to reduce to a headline. Courtney Clenney's defense team has always maintained that she was the victim, that Christian was abusive, that the elevator video doesn't show the full picture, that she suffered 4 shoulder dislocations during the relationship, that she required stitches for a cut to her finger, that the violence went both ways, and that on the day Christian died, she genuinely feared for her life. The prosecution has always disputed that. Miami-Dade State Attorney Catherine Fernandez-Rundle characterized the relationship as extremely tempestuous and combative. Prosecutors argued Courtney was the aggressor, and they had evidence they believed would prove it. On April 3, 2022, the day started calmly. Christian left the apartment early in the afternoon and returned at 4:32 p.m. with food. Phone records show Courtney was on the phone with her mother, Deborah, between 4:43 and 4:56 p.m. At 4:46 p.m., building security called 911 to report noise from the unit. At 4:57 p.m., Courtney called 911 herself. She reported that Christian had been stabbed. On that call, Christian can be heard in the background. He says, "I'm going to die. I can't feel my arms." Courtney switches between panic and remorse. She apologizes to him. She begs the dispatcher for help. When police arrive, they find a chaotic, blood-soaked scene. Christian is in a pool of coagulated blood, indicating he had been bleeding for an extended period before help arrived. Courtney is covered in blood, hysterical. Christian is transported to a trauma center. He later dies from a single stab wound to the chest. During her initial 4-hour interrogation, Courtney claims self-defense. She says Christian pushed her against a wall by the neck and threw her to the ground. She says she grabbed a kitchen knife and threw it at him from about 10 feet away. But police note she has no visible injuries consistent with being choked or thrown, and she never alleges that Christian was armed. The medical examiner's report contradicts her story entirely. The autopsy reveals Christian died from a deep stab wound that punctured the subclavian artery. A forceful downward thrust, just over 3 inches deep. The medical examiner concludes that a knife thrown from 10 feet away could not have caused that specific fatal wound. 4 months later, in August 2022, Courtney is arrested at a rehabilitation facility in Hawaii, where she was receiving treatment for PTSD and substance abuse. She is charged with second-degree murder with a deadly weapon. She pleads not guilty, and she has remained in the Miami-Dade jail ever since. What followed was not a quick resolution. It was 4 years of legal warfare, motion after motion, hearing after hearing, evidence disputes, attorney-client privilege battles, a judge who warned the courtroom, "This is not going to turn into a telenovela." In early 2024, Courtney's parents, Kim and Deborah Clenney, were arrested on charges of unauthorized access to a computer. Investigators discovered a group chat among the parents and Courtney's attorneys discussing how to access Christian's personal laptop after his death. Text messages showed them sharing password ideas. One message from Kim Clenney read, "Hell yeah, that pin worked." Those charges were ultimately dropped after a judge ruled investigators had improperly accessed messages protected by attorney-client privilege. But the damage to the family's credibility was already public. By July 2026, with jury selection looming, both sides were preparing for a courtroom showdown. The prosecution had the elevator video, the Aspen video, the medical examiner's testimony, the text messages, the secret audio recordings Christian made of Courtney yelling, using derogatory language, physically striking him, recordings captured while his own voice remained calm. The defense had their own arsenal. They filed motions to introduce Christian's 2020 animal cruelty arrest. His dog Halo died of dehydration after being locked in a kennel. They sought to admit evidence of Courtney's alleged injuries. For shoulder dislocations, a cut finger, they argued that years of abuse, documented and undocumented, created a context in which Courtney's fear on April 3rd was genuine and reasonable. They planned to put Courtney on the stand. She had said she intended to testify. And then, on July 31st, 2026, 3 weeks before opening statements, it all ended. Not with a verdict, with a deal. Her attorneys at Prieto law firm and Puglisi Carams Law released a statement confirming the agreement. The terms, they said, are not final until accepted by the court. The specific terms will be placed on the record on August 10th before Judge Andrea Ricker-Wolfson. They asked the public and media to refrain from speculation until the agreement is formally presented. But here's what we know, and here's what we don't. We know Courtney Clenney has been in custody since August 2022, 4 years. If the plea involves a sentence with credit for time served, she could be looking at release in the near future, or additional years, depending on what charge she pleads to and what sentence the judge imposes. We know she was originally charged with second-degree murder with a deadly weapon. In Florida, that carries a potential sentence of up to life in prison. If the plea reduces that charge to manslaughter, for example, the sentencing range changes dramatically. Manslaughter with a deadly weapon carries a maximum of 30 years, but with a negotiated plea and credit for 4 years already served, the actual time could be significantly less. We know the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office has described Christian as a victim of domestic violence. A spokesperson told Newsweek, "As this is an ongoing criminal prosecution, it would be inappropriate for us to comment." But the office's previous characterization of the case, that Courtney was the aggressor, suggests they would not have accepted a deal that they believed let her off lightly. and we know this. Larry Handfield, the attorney representing Christian Obumseli's family, confirmed that his clients were very involved in the conversations about the plea. He said all parties have agreed to a resolution. And he said something that matters more than any legal term: the agreement will start their healing process. That sentence tells you something the press releases don't. The family, the people who have spent 4 years insisting Courtney was the aggressor, for years fighting for justice, for years watching their son's name reduced to a footnote in an influencer's downfall, signed off on this. They didn't just accept it, they helped shape it. And they believe it will let them begin to heal. But here's what we don't know. And it's the question that has dominated every comment section, every forum, every group chat since the news broke. What are the actual terms? Will Courtney Clenney plead to second-degree murder and accept a lengthy sentence? Will the charge be reduced to manslaughter? Will she get credit for time served and walk out of that courthouse a free woman? Will the judge accept the deal at all, or reject it, forcing both sides back to trial? The defense has asked for silence. The prosecution has declined to comment. And the only person who can answer any of these questions is the judge, who will hear the terms on August 10th. Here's what the plea deal means for the evidence. The elevator video, the Aspen video, the secret recordings, the medical examiner's testimony, the text messages, the animal cruelty arrest, the shoulder dislocations. All of it, every piece of evidence both sides spent 4 years fighting to admit or exclude, will likely never be presented in open court. The public will never see a jury weigh it. The Obumseli family will never hear a verdict read. The question of whether Courtney Clenney acted in self-defense or committed murder will not be answered by 12 citizens. It will be answered by a negotiated agreement behind closed doors. And that is the part that haunts this case. Because Christian Obumseli left a text message asking if love would kill him. He left secret recordings of a woman hitting him while he stayed calm. He left a family that has spent 4 years fighting for the world to see him as a victim, not as a footnote. And now, the mechanism that was supposed to deliver a public accounting, a trial, a verdict, a jury's judgment, has been replaced by a document that none of us are allowed to read. Maybe the terms are just, maybe they are not. We won't know until August 10th. But here's what is certain. Courtney Clenney traded the uncertainty of a jury for the certainty of a deal. She traded the risk of a life sentence for a negotiated outcome. And she traded the public's right to know for a closed-door resolution. The question is whether that trade was worth it, for her, for the family, and for a case that will now be remembered not for what a jury decided, but for what 2 sides agreed to keep secret. Maybe one plea deal won't give his family the verdict they wanted, but sometimes, a closed door is the only way a grieving family gets to walk through to the next room. If you're following this case, subscribe now, because on August 10th, the terms drop. And when they do, we will be here, not hours later, not after every other outlet has moved on, with the breakdown the moment it happens. Hit the notification bell, because this is the kind of story where one hearing changes everything.